Good evening, Grammar Gumshoes, and welcome to Hard-Boiled English Live, the show on which we investigate and solve your English grammar mysteries. I'm your humble host and grammar detective, Paul Duke, and I'm thrilled to be with you once again. Gosh, it is May 3rd, 2024. Hard to believe. We've been live streaming this show since 2020, almost 4 years worth of seasons and episodes. So can't thank you enough for joining me once more. And tonight we have some more fascinating English enigmas to unravel and investigate. To kick things off, however, guys, I'd love it if you'd say hello in the comment thread and tell me what country you're watching from. It's always fun to see who's out there and where you're watching from. And so far we've had some greetings from Isabel. We've had greetings from Suwon. We have Ana Maria here. We have Ala. We have Edith. Edith ampersand proofs with us. Levi Vieira from Brazil is with us. I think he's... are you from Brazil? I can't remember. I think so. We have Jonas with us. Jonas in Morocco. We have Tesfalam with us from UAE. So welcome, welcome, welcome everybody. It's great to have you with me again. It's great to be here. I've got some exciting news to share with you. We'll get to that in a moment. Just give everyone a chance to join the show, catch up, and log in. Sometimes it takes a few minutes. Right, so you are in Brazil. I hope you haven't been affected by the flooding that's happening. I know it's happening in the south end of Brazil. Some of my students are down there and experiencing some serious flooding and water damage from heavy rains. So hope you're doing all right. Everyone should take care and stay safe. We have Chris with us from Brazil also. Chris, again, I hope you're safe and comfortable and not affected by the flooding that's happening down there. Hope everyone you know and care about and are close by you and staying safe. That's the important thing when we have these natural disasters. Who else is out there? Please say hello. And we'll get to some special news coming up. Some of you who have been watching this show for several years have seen on my show a wide range of guests. I've had all kinds of guests on the show, from English learners who are using English in their professions now or school. We've had English professors who, for whom English is not their native language. We've had, of course, English teachers of all kinds with us on the show. We've had fellow YouTube English teachers, such as Mr. Robin Shaw, joining the show in the past. Next week, however, I'm very pleased to announce joining the show will be a very special guest educator, very popular YouTube English teacher, Miss Arnell from Arnell's Everyday English YouTube channel. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with her. I'm personally a great fan of her work. She makes some of the best, well, I think she makes the best instructional English grammar videos out there. They are particularly useful for learners who are just starting English journey, like beginners or intermediate level and advanced level. It never hurts to review the basics. But her videos are very clear. She's got excellent graphics and animations to help you see the grammar. She's a highly skilled educator and teacher. And if you haven't experienced her videos, please, this week, go to her YouTube channel, Arnell's Everyday English, subscribe to it, and check out some of her videos because she's joining the show next Friday. Now, here's the important thing, guys. Because of our time difference, I'm on the west coast of Canada, and she's in England in the UK. Our time zones are basically the opposite. So in order to accommodate her schedule, I've changed the time for this episode of Hard-Boiled English. It's going to be 8 a.m. my time. Right now it's 5 p.m. my time. Okay, so that's what? That's 9 hours earlier next week. Now, for some of you, that's a better time than this time. Whichever the case, please make a note of that. It's a different time for this episode only. So please be careful of that. I will publish some social media posts reminding everyone about the different time next Friday. So for me, it will be next Friday morning instead of next Friday evening like this is. Okay, right now it's evening where I live. However, where Miss Arnell lives, it's not evening, it's in the middle of the night. And I can't ask her to wake up at 2 a.m. to do this live show. So please join us next week. Tell all your friends. Come and see the episode because it's going to be a very nice interview and conversation with her. And we'll share a lot of information that I think you'll find useful. So, special guest next week at a special time. 8 a.m. Pacific time. That's the west coast of Canada and the U.S. Same time as Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, and Vancouver, where I am. So please pay attention to the new time. And we'll see you then. And it'll be a great honor to welcome her to the show. We've already discussed some plans together about what to share with you guys, and I think it'll be a fun episode. Okay, we'll get to today's English mystery in a few moments. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the question that somebody posed me this week. And we're going to investigate the grammar topic. And then at the end of the show, we're going to have a little quiz to see if you grasp the concepts. So stay to the end because there'll be a fun interactive quiz and we'll test your knowledge on this. Okay, we'll get to the mystery in a few moments. In the meantime, please say hello in the chat box. And if you have grammar questions that you'd like us to talk about on the show, please put it into the chat thread now. We have a few moments. And I will address them certainly on a future episode and maybe even tonight if we have the time. Another thing I need to mention is that it is now May. And usually over the past 4 years of doing this live stream, during the summer I shut down the show. In my hard-boiled English studio here, it gets far too hot in the summer to live stream. The weather itself is hot. The windows of my studio are south-facing, so I get the sun at this time. And of course, in the studio we have studio lights, which make this room extremely hot. So if I stream during the summer, which I did my first year, and it was brutal, not only does it endanger me, because it's actually like an oven in here, all my equipment gets damaged. So by the end of May, we'll have the last episode of the season, and then the summer will be offline. Okay, so please pay attention. Of course, as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you get all the updates and notifications about different episodes. And when we do cancel down for the summer, you'll get notified about the first episode of the next season, early September, okay? So best thing to do is subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or Twitch, that's all wonderful. But the best place to watch this show is right here on the YouTube channel. And all you have to do is scan the QR code. It takes you right to the channel and you can subscribe. The YouTube channel is also the best place to watch the show, and you can see the previous episode recordings. A couple of hours after this live stream ends, this link will no longer be available, but the recording will be on the YouTube channel only, not Facebook, not LinkedIn. You'll only be able to see the recording on YouTube. So it's really the best place to follow this channel, follow these live streams. Is there anyone else out there who has not said hello? If not, please do so now. I'm going to have a quick sip of water and get ready to solve some mysteries for you. Okay, we have joining us Khan Khan. Khan Khan, what country are you watching in? Oh, of course. Ahmed from Pakistan. Whoa, great. Great to have you with us. As you can see, we have a lot of viewers across the world in different places. We have Brazil, we have UAE, we have Pakistan, we have Morocco. I think we have somebody in Colombia. We have Brazil, we have Malaysia. Great to have you all with us. It's such a treat, such a gift that I can share these live streams with you, no matter what country you're in, as long as you're awake. And I know that's a challenge with these time zone differences. It's a huge challenge. That's one of the reasons I don't often have guests. There are a lot of people I've invited to join the show as a guest. There are a lot of people who have accepted the offer. However, working out the time zones to do it is always a challenge. Even one of my most frequent guests and collaborators is Anish Dea from Toronto, Canada. He's an English educator there. And he's been on the show several times. But there's a 3-hour time difference between my city and his city, even though we're in the same country. So even in my country, it's hard to get time zones coordinated and have guests on. Okay, this is Dasmang from Nigeria. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. Suwan says, it's great for us to spend time. Oh, thank you very much. That's lovely of you to say. Thank you. All right, guys, I think it's time to move on to our mystery of the week. And hopefully Miss Ludmila in Russia will join us because it's her question that she asked me earlier in the week. We share a WhatsApp group called the Grammar Gumshoes. And sometimes, a lot of the time, I'll discuss mysteries right there on the WhatsApp group. But sometimes there's a topic that really needs the whiteboard, really needs something visual to help us grasp the concept. So I'll save some of those questions for the show. And she asked me a question a couple of days ago that I thought, okay, well, I can give you a simple answer on WhatsApp, but it's really useful to see it in action. So it's perfectly suited for the show. And we're going to deal with that tonight. So without any more delay, let's get ready to find out our mystery of the week. Okay, I'll see you on the other side. See you in a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, this week's English mystery. All right, welcome back. So tonight's mystery is the strange case of the perplexing pronouns. Now, many of you have learned in your English education about pronouns. There are a lot of pronouns, and they can do a lot of different things. That's good. That's useful. That gives us the flexibility to communicate a whole wide range of meanings. It also gives us the complexity that makes it hard to learn and understand. So, like all things with English grammar, the complexity is what gives it the great creative and communicative power. It's also what makes it hard to learn. So we're going to look at something tonight, and we're going to focus on 2 specific pronouns. Before we get to the example that Ludmila gave me, let's look at a definition of what exactly a pronoun is, because I don't want to assume that everyone knows that. So let's start with a definition. Okay, what's a pronoun? A pronoun is a word. It's actually a kind of noun, right? Look at the name, pronoun. Okay, so it's a type of noun that replaces other nouns and noun phrases, right? A noun phrase is just a group of nouns together, more than one word together, like I don't know, pen in the cup. Pen is a noun, cup is a noun, and they're grouped together to create an idea. That's a noun phrase. And there are several types. For example, there are personal pronouns. I, you, we. Those are personal pronouns. They replace persons or people. They replace names. Paul, I. Let's say Suan, you. Right? Chris, you. Chris, Levi, Suwan, everybody, and me, we. Okay? There are possessive pronouns. This is mine. So I could say this is my pen. That's one option. I could say this is Paul's pen, which is a little odd because I'm Paul. Or I can say this pen is mine. Okay, that shows possession. It shows belonging or ownership. And it allows me not to say pen. Right? I can replace the word pen with the word mine. This is mine. You can see that it's a pen. Okay? That's a possessive pronoun. This live stream, this is our live stream. I share it with you. It's our live stream. Okay, I'm the host, but with no audience, the live stream is garbage. It's useless. So you're an important part of this live stream. You're the audience. You're the viewers. You're the gumshoes. Also, relative pronouns. For example, this is the pen that I use on the whiteboard, right? Or this is the pen which I prefer. I prefer this brand, Arteza, because it goes on nice and bold and clear and also comes off easily. Arteza pen. So this is the brand which I prefer. That's a pronoun that connects relative clauses. And there are determiner pronouns. For example, I have some pens. You could ask, Paul, do you have pens? Yes, I have some. I don't even need to say the word pens at that point. I can just say I have some. So you can see how these pronouns allow us to replace the noun. Now, why do you want to do that? You don't have to do that. This is one of those cases where pronouns give us options in English. Okay? Look here at the definition. Pronouns replace nouns and noun phrases. Okay? Why? To avoid or reduce repetition. Okay? In English, repetition is boring. Think about this. Hi everyone, here is my blue pen. This pen is my pen. I prefer Arteza pens as my favorite pens. I'm just saying the word pen so often, you're going to go to sleep. I don't want that. So I have these options that I can use to replace the word pen, right? I can say, look at this pen. This is mine. This is the brand which I prefer. Okay? So I can get rid of a lot of repetition or even just reduce it a little bit. And that's a very important tool to have. Now, you don't have to do that. You could say pen, 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 pen. Right? You could if you wanted. There's nothing ungrammatical about that. But there's also another level of language use that goes up and above grammar use. Okay, it's correct to say pen, 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 pen 100 times. That's grammatically correct. But it hurts the ears. It's not aesthetically pleasing. It's not beautiful. It's not elegant. And language kind of works like a hierarchy, right? Like a stack of values. Of course, you want to be grammatically correct. But if your sentences and your writing or your speaking is grammatically correct, and that's not a problem for you, the next thing you want to do is be beautiful and elegant with your language choice. And repetition is part of that, learning how to avoid too much repetition. Now, we use it once in a while for emphasis, but in general in English, not all languages, some languages favor repetition, but not English. Okay? So this is a tool to reduce or avoid repetition. You don't have to use pronouns. You can. They give us an option. Okay? Let's remember that. So sometimes people will ask me a question like, is it correct or not correct? Or why do I use this? Or when can I use a pronoun? So it's important to understand the function of a pronoun, why it's there, why it exists, and how you can use it. But but you don't have to use it, right? It's perfectly correct to say, this is my pen, or this pen belongs to me, or this is mine. There are all kinds of ways to say similar things with slightly different emphasis. Okay, let's stop there for a moment. I want to say hello to Coach Danny Stone. Great to have you with us, Coach. Hopefully you're doing well. Guys, if you want to check out a great motivator, a great mindset coach, someone who can really help you get the success you're looking for by teaching you the mental tools, the psychological tools, the emotional tools that help you get after your goals and achieve them, check out I Am Danny Stone on LinkedIn. I believe there's a YouTube channel, all kinds of links. In fact, I will put the links in the description down below. Coach Danny Stone is one of my favorites. One of these days, Coach Stone, we got to get you on this live stream. I keep forgetting to get that organized with you. Hello also to Chinu Rao. Thank you for joining us. Okay, guys, let's continue with our talk of pronouns. I want to show you now the question I was given. Okay, let me just find it. Okay. The question was, what's the difference between these pronouns, the pronouns that and the pronouns it? So we're going to look at two pronouns today. Now we know what they are. We also know there are many of them. Tonight we're going to look at these two. So what's the difference? So Ludmila, who gave me this question, sees there's some confusing uses that she's encountered. For example, yes, that is a good idea, or yes, it is a good idea. Which one's correct? That is great, or it is great. Which one's correct? It's a great question. It looks simple, but like all things with English grammar, it's not so simple. Okay. Now, the first thing I'll say is, these are both pronouns. That's a good starting point. Let me write these sentences on the board. Yes, that is a good idea. It is a good idea. Okay. Two options there. That is great. Or it is great. Okay. Let's take a close look at this. Let's identify the parts that we see here. Okay, that is a good idea. Here we have a subject. This is the subject of the sentence, right? Let's put that there. Subject, that or it, right? And we have a verb, is. Is the verb. And then we have an object in this sentence. Idea. Good is an adjective. Idea is our object. So this sentence is a pretty basic English structure. That is idea. Okay. How about these ones? Well, the same thing applies. We have a subject. We have a verb. Now they're both the same verb. That's a coincidence. Here we have an adjective. Do I have a... No, I don't. Here we have an adjective. All right. So a slightly different structure. But with a be verb, we can do that. We've seen that in the previous episode. We can have the structure subject, be verb, adjective. No problem, right? She is happy. Paul is happy. You are nice. With the be verb, we don't need an object. We can have an object or we can have an adjective, right? Recently, we had some episodes that I called What Comes After the Verb, and we talked about those things. So these are perfectly good structures. What's the difference? Here we have pronouns, which can replace nouns, right? And we know that nouns, usually the subject of a sentence is a noun of some kind. Could be a gerund, like swimming. Swimming is a good idea, or swimming is great. It could be a noun clause or a noun phrase like, when I swim, it is great. It could be something like that. But the subjects are usually nouns. They could be infinitive verbs, but it's very rare and not recommended. So we have a noun, in this case the pronoun. What's the problem? Well, if the grammatical word is the same, both of them are pronouns, so that's good. Are they both correct? Well, I would say no, and here's why. Each one of these pronouns does a slightly different communicative function, a slightly different job. So it's important to know what that and what it communicates to us. And it's a little different. So let's take a look at a graphic that will kind of compare them. Okay, let's look at that. It says that is a demonstrative pronoun. Demonstrative means it points to something. Used to refer to a specific, tangible, means we can touch it, it's physical, or abstract, which means it's not physical, it's an idea, for example, or a concept. So a tangible or abstract noun or idea, which can be near or far. Okay, and that is used as determiner, right? Like that pen, a determiner goes with a noun, that pen. It can be used to connect relative clauses. This is the pen that I prefer. Or restrictive clauses, which are a type of relative clause. Well, let's compare that with the word it. It is also a pronoun. It's used to refer back to a previously mentioned noun. Doesn't say that about that. Okay? It refers back to a previously mentioned noun, or to represent objects, animals, or ideas. For example, this is a nice pen. It is red. Okay, that's referring to an object. It's representing an object. And it's referring to a previously mentioned object, right? This is my pen. Pen is the object. I don't have to say, this is my pen, the pen is red. I can say, this is my pen, it is red. So that's how we can use it. Look at the next passage, though. It says generic. It's general, not specific, and replaces something that has already been mentioned or is understood in the context. So, for example, if we're in the same room, you would see my whiteboard, right? Actually, you can see it on the screen. So we share a context. In the context of this live stream, you guys know the whiteboard. So I can use it to talk about the whiteboard, right? I can introduce the whiteboard first. I could say, the whiteboard is, there is writing on the whiteboard. It is blue letters. The writing is blue letters, it. Or I could say, the whiteboard is large. It is heavy. Okay, so I can refer to it in the context, and you know what I'm talking about. I don't even need that first sentence, in fact, because we share the context. I could just point to the whiteboard because you can see it. I could say, it is pretty heavy. It is pretty heavy. And you know what I'm talking about. Here's another function of it. As a placeholder, or what we sometimes call a dummy subject. And I'll show you an example of that in a moment. In sentences where the true subject comes later. Sometimes we want to say the subject comes first, like, this pen is red. But sometimes we want to move the subject, pen, later in the sentence. That's a good way to introduce it. For example, it is a red pen. So I'm going to move the word pen to the end of the sentence. It's still the subject. But English needs a subject before the verb. We can't say, is a red pen in English. We can't say that. We can't start with the verb, jump over to the object. That's why we need a dummy or a placeholder. A dummy means like an artificial person, like in a clothing store, right? The dummy or the mannequin is wearing the sample clothes. So here we use it to start a sentence when the true subject comes later. It is a red pen. Red pen is the subject, but it doesn't start the sentence, right? Don't have to. It just gives us options and choices for our sentence structures, okay? So we can see that these words are used differently. Yes, they're both pronouns. However, they communicate different things, right? For example, this idea of near or far. We can use that to indicate something near or far. Can't do that with it. It replaces objects we've already mentioned or that you can see in the context. But I can use that to talk about things that are far away. For example, I live about half a kilometer from the ocean. That is the ocean, right? Or the ocean is that direction. It's not close, right? I could also say that is my whiteboard. That's close. So there are different uses here. You can also see that this function as a placeholder or dummy subject can't use that. We can only use it, right? And there's another common dummy subject you're aware of called there. For example, there are pens, right? Pens is really the subject, but it's at the end of the sentence. So we have to start the sentence with something. Some languages don't. I understand Spanish and Portuguese, for example. You don't need to start with a subject. You can start with a verb. You could say, are a lot of pens. English doesn't work like that. English needs something to be the subject. It has to have a subject, okay, before the verb. Why? Because we have another form that starts with the verb, which is the imperative, which gives orders like stand up, sit down, watch my show, ask a question, listen to the teacher. Those are commands, and they all start with the verb. So if we don't want to command or give an instruction or order, we have to start with the subject. And it doesn't have to be the real subject. It could be a dummy using it, but not that. So let's take a look back again at the question we had. Actually, they're on the board. What am I doing? Let me get rid of this. Here we go. So let's take a look at these ones first. It is great. That is great. Now, if we started these sentences with no subject, is great, doesn't work. So we need at least a dummy subject, like it. It is great. But if I walk up to you on the street and say, you know what? It is great. You don't know what I'm talking about. I have not identified the noun yet. So that doesn't work. I would need to say something like, this is my pen. Pen. This is my pen. It is great. Oh, really? Great. Thank you for sharing that. So it has to replace a noun that you've previously mentioned, right, in the conversation. Or, you know, something that you can see in the context. Also notice that it points backwards, right? This is my pen. It is great. We said about that refers to a specific, tangible, or abstract noun, right? Specific. So if I walk up to you on the street and say only this sentence, like, excuse me, hi, that is great. You're going to say, what is great? What's that? What are you talking about? That has to be talking about something specific. And it can talk about objects, physical objects, or ideas. And this is where we usually find the use of that. That can refer to an entire idea represented in a sentence, for example. We could say something like, well, actually, this might be ideal in a conversation. Person A might say, hey, let's go to the movies. Person B will say, that's great. They mean the whole idea is great. that whole thing you said is great. You might say something like, that's a great idea, right? That's a great idea. That whole sentence you said. It could be a paragraph. Somebody could explain an idea and you're listening and you can say, that's amazing. They use that to talk about the whole idea. It cannot do that. It refers to a single noun, an object. It can't refer to an entire idea. That's quite different. Okay? So if you're pointing to a single object that you have previously identified, like the pen, this is my pen, it is great, that's fine. But that has to point to something specific, and it can point to a complete idea. So it's great in conversations, but it's pointing to something specific. For example, that is the ocean. And if you're here with me, you could see the ocean. So I'm pointing to a specific ocean that we can see, right? Or that is my favorite grammar topic, this whole thing, right? So that's a little bit different. That for specific things that are clear to the other person, so you've already said it or they've said it. It should be used to replace single nouns, objects, things. Okay, let's take another look at that. The big difference here is that refers to a specific, tangible or abstract or idea. However, it refers to something generic or replaces something that has already been mentioned. So it's specific because you've mentioned it. Okay? But that has to be a specific thing. It's pointing to something specific. And that does not work as a placeholder or a dummy subject. So let's take a look at some more examples. Let me just clear the board. And we'll see how well you understand this concept. I'll do a little exploration here. Okay. Let's take a look at some that examples. Okay, here we go. I saw a cat, right, in the garden. I saw a cat in the garden. That cat was chasing a butterfly, let's say. Okay. Like all things grammatical, sometimes we have more than one correct choice. This is one of those cases. I saw a cat in the garden. Now I've identified the cat, a specific cat in the garden that I saw. That's a pretty specific cat. So I can use that to talk about that cat. That cat. So here it's being used as a determiner in front of the noun. Okay? That cat. Use them together. That's determiner pronoun. That cat. Or this cat. Or your cat. That's when we use a determiner. It tells us which cat. That cat. And you know which cat I'm talking about because I've identified it here. That cat was doing this activity. But cat is a noun. So according to our definition, we could replace cat with it. Right? So let's test that. So we can say that cat. Can we also say it cat? Can we say it cat? No. It does not work as a determiner. That's different, right? We can say that cat, and you know which one I'm talking about, the one in the garden that I saw. We can say that cat. We cannot say it cat But we can say it. It was chasing a butterfly. It can replace cat. And we don't confuse it with garden. We don't think it points to the garden because a garden doesn't usually chase a butterfly. Right? So we have two choices here because there's some overlap with the definition. That and it are both pronouns. They can both replace a noun that you've previously mentioned, a specific noun. It has to be specific for us to use that. Okay? It has to be previously mentioned to use it. But we cannot use it with the noun together. It replaces the noun. However, that we can use as a determiner with the noun. That cat is fine. It is fine. We have two choices, okay? It or that cat. Let's look at another example. And I'm trying to use examples that show different cases. Let's say we have a conversation with person A, person B. Person A says, I want to buy a new car. Person B is their friend and wants to go traveling with person A, so they're happy to hear this. And they say, that is a great idea. Okay, that is a great idea. Here, that is pointing to the whole idea. Quite clearly, right? They're saying it's a great idea. Okay? You could even say that is great, and we would understand you mean the whole idea, the whole sentence, not just the noun car, not even the noun I, but the whole idea, abstract idea. I want to buy a new car. That is a great idea. So this is the use of that to point to something that's not a single noun, it's an idea. Okay? Can we use it? Can we say it is a great idea? Some people do. I would say don't do that. It is really good for replacing objects, physical objects, single nouns. It, right? This bear is small. It was a gift to me, right? This rabbit is white. It is small. Okay? Objects. That points to ideas that are bigger than a single noun. So I would recommend do not use it to point to an idea. Use that. Okay? That's a great idea. Let's try another example. I baked a cake. Yesterday. Okay? Turned out to be nice. Okay. So again, we can't start with the verb like this in English. Turned out to be nice. What did? Something did. But what are we talking about? What turned out to be nice and delicious? Well, cake. And by the way, here cake is the object. So it's a single noun. It's the object. Here we had an object, cat, and we replaced it with it, or that cat. We're going to do the same thing here. It turned out to be nice. It replaces cake. Again, we could say, I baked a cake yesterday. My cake turned out to be nice. But we're trying to avoid repetition. I baked a cake yesterday. It turned out to be nice. Or it turned out great or delicious, whatever. That doesn't work here. That turned out to be nice. Unless you combine the sentences like an adjective clause. I baked a cake that turned out to be nice yesterday. That's possible, but that's relative pronoun that. If you're starting a new sentence, use it, because you're pointing to a single noun, not a big idea, not a full sentence. Okay? That's quite different. One second, folks. Okay, let's try another one. Let me think. There is a dog in the park. Period. Is quite large. Okay, again, we shouldn't say a sentence like this in English, starting with the verb. We need a subject. Is quite large doesn't work. What are we talking about? There is a dog in the park. What do you think is quite large? Well, the dog, right? So here, we are pointing back to the dog and we want to replace it. That is quite large? No. We are replacing a single noun object. It. It is quite large. Okay? Here we replaced a whole idea with that. I want to buy a new car. That is a great idea. The whole idea. Right? Here we're replacing single nouns with it, not that. Let's talk about dummy subject. Okay, dummy subject example. And we'll contrast it with a normal sentence or basic sentence. The rain is falling. Okay, here we have the rain is falling. Subject, verb. Well, this is part of the verb. The rain is falling is present continuous. The rain is falling. That's one way to say it, with the subject, rain. But we can also say, is raining. Okay, we have the verb, is raining. But in English, we need a subject. But now we're using rain as a verb, whereas here we use it as the noun subject. So we can also use the verb version, is raining, but now we need a subject. Should we say rain is raining? Well, you could. Here we said rain is falling, but rain is raining sounds repetitive. Instead, we'll use a dummy subject. Right? It is raining. It is raining. So here we have a subject, it, and then we have the verb, is raining. It is raining. It is cold. So that it is fulfilling the grammatical need to have a subject, because English needs a subject. It has to have a subject, even if it's a pronoun. No problem. But you can't have no pronoun there. You either have to have a noun like rain is falling, or push the word rain to the end of the sentence and put it is raining. Okay? Or you could say the pen is blue. Push the word pen to the end of the sentence and say it is a blue pen. It, right? Dummy subject. It's just there to fulfill the need to have a subject in English. Okay? Just got to have a subject. Give me another example. I'm going to clear the board for this example because it's another use of it as dummy subject, but we need a little space here. And I think now that we've talked about dummy subject, you'll recognize that because it's very, very common. It is raining. It is cold. And when we use the dummy subject doesn't refer to anything at all. It just kind of means existence. It is raining. What's raining? Well, existence, nature. If you're religious, you might think God is raining. Right? It's a general pointer. It's generic. It's not pointing to something in particular when it's a dummy subject. It's just there to fill the spot because we have to fill the spot. That's why it's called dummy. Sometimes it's called empty subject because it's empty of meaning. It doesn't have an agency as a subject. It doesn't have its own personality or identity. Okay. There's another way to use the dummy subject, and this is called a cleft sentence. Cleft means split. Okay, let's look at a basic sentence again. Julia, right? Julia phoned me. Okay, here we have a subject, we have a verb, we have an object. And the subject, Julia, is in this typical subject position. This is a very simple, basic sentence. No problem, but it's basic. And we don't want to repeat that kind of structure all the time, especially in things like writing. You want to have a variety of structures. It's more pleasing, it's more beautiful to the reader. And even when you're speaking, you don't want to use the typical subject, verb, object structure for every single sentence. My name is Paul. I am a teacher. I am on the live stream. My live stream is nice. You are my friend. This is a very repetitive structure. So not only do we want to avoid repeating words, we want to avoid repeating structures. Sometimes we need them, but this is why English gives you a large variety of structures. Sometimes it's just to create new and fresh patterns, because it's pleasing to the ear. There's another way to say this, and it gives a particular emphasis to the subject. And what we're going to do is we're going to split the sentence open and say, and we're going to do this. Okay, and let's identify the parts we have here. We have verb, we have object. This is the relative pronoun, using that. And it connects this relative clause or adjective clause. And it actually becomes the subject of that verb. That phoned me. And then we have a verb here too. And we have Julia, which is the true subject of this idea, but now we're going to use a dummy subject. We're going to use it. And it is our dummy subject. It was Julia that phoned me. So if someone said, "Who phoned you?" I could say Julia phoned me. Or I can split the sentence open, and you see how we have two verbs, so it's kind of two clauses now. And Julia is in the very middle of this, right? We have a subject verb and a subject verb. And we put Julia, the main idea, in the very middle of these two clauses. Oops, that's a mess. Right? We split the idea open and create two clauses and put the main piece of information in the very middle. And we can only do that with it, because it's the dummy subject. Remember, that is not a dummy subject. It's a pronoun that points to something specific. It was. What was? Nothing. We're not talking about something in particular. It's a dummy subject. We know that the subject is coming. It was who? Julia. That did what? That phoned me. Okay, so this is a way of delaying the subject a little bit and putting the subject in the very middle of a longer sentence. In English, there are 3 points that have natural power, natural emphasis power. Those points are the first part of the sentence, usually the first word. We call that initial position, or if the sentence starts here and ends, we might call that a falling sentence. There is a natural point of emphasis in the very middle. We might call the fulcrum, because it's like a seesaw, right? The hinge point or the fulcrum. And we have the periodic point, the very last part of the sentence. Those 3 points have natural emphasis. In a sentence with 3 words, each one has kind of the same weight, the same power of emphasis. There's only 3 words. So first position has emphasis, middle position has emphasis, and final position has emphasis. So it's a kind of a flat sentence, and that's why it's kind of boring, right? But if we start an idea and put all the important information at the beginning, we have a starting point emphasis. If we put it at the end, right? This is, by the way, this is often how we introduce a new idea. Think about how a performer is introduced on stage, right? Imagine we're in a theater and you're here for a music concert. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me tonight. This evening, performing for the first time in 3 years, the #1 selling musical artist in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Taylor Swift. The name comes at the end. That's how we introduce something new. So that's what position 3 does. It introduces new information. A cleft sentence puts the emphasis right in the middle, in the fulcrum position. And we have 2 clauses on either side. So that's another use of both dummy subject and relative pronoun. So that's a lot of information. Let me just pause for a moment, let you mentally digest that. Salam Dawood, how are you? I'm great, thank you. Sitara from Pakistan, welcome. We have Jonas with some... Yep. And that fits the definition here, Jonas. Right? That is a demonstrative pronoun that refers to a specific tangible or abstract noun, which includes people, right? Specific, tangible, a person, like my friend or he or she, that's a specific tangible noun, which can be near or far. So if you say, that was my friend, right? You have to be pointing to something specific. Like if somebody phones, if you're with your other friends and somebody phones and they say, who was that? That was my friend. They're talking about a specific person on your phone. That was my friend. So absolutely, it can refer to people. A person is just a noun. So when they say something like this in a definition, a specific tangible noun, that includes any tangible noun. Objects. Ideas are abstract, but people are tangible. They're physical objects. Companies, countries, all the usual nouns fit into that definition, right? Jonas lives in Morocco. That country is my favorite country. That is my favorite country. We're talking about a specific country that he lives in. I can't say that for sure because I've never visited, so I'm just using that as an example. It might be my favorite country after I visit it, but until I do, I can't say that with any honesty. Yes, that's absolutely true, Jonas. Well, Coach Danny, I hope I've cleared up the mystery a little bit. Maybe I've just created more mysteries. It's always hard to say. But the main thing here is that they're both pronouns, which is the similar point, right? But there are differences in how we use them and what they communicate. And hopefully that's what we've seen with this investigation. Now, guys, how about we try and use this information? Are you ready for a quiz? Okay, let's do a little quiz and practice this. I'm going to put a multiple choice animation on the screen. And in the comment thread, I want you to choose the right answer. A, B, C, or D. 1, 2, 3, or 4, okay? Let's have a go at this. Okay, so here, for example, we have the sentence, Sarah bought a new dress for the party. She thinks blank looks stunning. Put your answer in the chat thread. I'm just going to do something, make an adjustment here on my monitor. Okay, we have some people saying A. Okay. Okay, so here we have an example where we are pointing back to a previously mentioned noun. Oh, Jonas is encouraging me to visit. Okay, so the correct answer is it, because we are replacing the single noun dress, right? We'll review these at the end. I think there are 10 questions. Have you read the book? I recommend it. What do you think? Have you read the book? I recommend it. Pay attention to the punctuation too, because this is one sentence. Okay, it looks like everyone's choosing B, and that would be correct. Right? Have you read the book? That I recommended. Here, that is used as a relative pronoun. There was a loud noise outside. I wonder what was. What do you think? It, that, both, neither? Everyone got their answer? Okay. I think the correct answer is going to be C. No. In that case, it'll be it. I was thinking that maybe we could use both because that is pointing to something specific. Okay, sorry, this is the one. You and your friend hear a noise. What was? What was? It, that, both, or neither? What do you think? Any ideas? So you and your friend hear a noise. So you and your friend both know what you're talking about, right? The noise, a specific noise. You shared the sound. So I think this is a case where we have that. What was that? That is pointing to a specific noise, a specific experience, actually. Okay, Emily found a stray cat in the park. She decided to adopt. What do you think? She decided to adopt. Okay, got some answers here. It seems like we have a consensus. It. She decided to adopt it. What? Well, the cat. So it is replacing the cat. And if you're not sure, test it. Put the original noun there. Emily found a stray cat in the park. She had decided to adopt the stray cat. Perfect. It's just repetitive. So if you can put the noun in there and it makes sense, use it. Tom bought a new bike. He's excited to ride. What do you think? Tom bought a new bike. He's excited to ride. Remember what it does and remember what that does. That points to a specific idea. Could be a person. You can use it as a determiner. It replaces a noun that you've mentioned already. So the answer here is going to be it. A new bike. He's excited to ride it, the new bike. Can you remember the name of blank restaurant we went to last night? Can you remember the name of blank restaurant we went to last night? What do you think, guys? Okay, good. We've got some answers here. Okay, so here we have that restaurant. So that can be a determiner pronoun, right? In front of the actual noun. That restaurant. We can't do that with it. It doesn't work like a determiner. We can't put it in front of the noun that it's replacing, right? This is my pen. It is blue, right? That pen, that plus noun, that pen is blue. That's possible, right? So that is the only one of the two that can work as a determiner. So that is the correct answer. That restaurant. That specific restaurant. When you came home last night, was blank cold outside? Was blank cold outside? Now this one's a question. So the verb and the subject and object might be in a different order. It's a question. Right? And questions in English have an inverted structure compared to a statement. Okay, it looks like everyone's getting the right answer. Yes, this is going to be the dummy subject, right? Was it cold outside? Or in statement form, it would be, it was cold. What was? Well, generic. Nature. Existence was cold. Life was cold. Remember, the dummy subject doesn't refer to an object, a specific noun. It's allowing us to push the subject down. This case, we're pushing the adjective down. It was what? It was cold. What was? Everything. Generic. Remember, that is the difference. That is used for something specific, but we can use it to refer to a generic or general subject. It was cold. What was? Everything in general was cold. So we can use it as a dummy subject. I went to the zoo yesterday. Blank was a lot of fun. Was a lot of fun. What was? Right? Remember, English needs a subject. Can't just start with a verb like this. Was a lot of fun. Other languages, it's fine. So if you're a Spanish and Portuguese speaker, I know those languages don't need the subject here. But that's your languages. There's no reason why your language grammar structure works in English. In fact, it doesn't. We definitely need a subject. So what is it? Looks like everyone's catching on. We need a dummy subject. And remember, only it can work as a dummy generic subject, just like we just had with it was cold. Everything was cold. Well, everything is general. That needs to be used to point to something specific. That is a great idea. Okay? So dummy subject can only be it. Oh, both. Let's go back and look at that. That caught me off guard. Yes, both work. Why? Because that, in this case, can point to the whole experience, the whole memory of I went to the zoo yesterday. Right? So that becomes a specific specific experience. So in this case, it does make sense that both are useful. Both are correct here. It, as the dummy subject, qualifies, but that could be pointing to the whole sentence, the whole idea. I went to the zoo yesterday. That experience, that day was great, was a lot of fun. So that's why both are possible here. Very interesting. Okay. Final one. Let's see what this one says. Sarah says, we should go camping next week. Emily says, blank is a great idea. What do you think, guys? Remember, we just can't start with a verb. Is a great idea. We need a subject. Yeah, everyone's choosing B, which makes sense because we're pointing to Sarah's idea. I think you can see it clearly in a conversation like this between Sarah and Emily. Sarah has an idea or a suggestion, and Emily likes the whole thing, right? The whole specific idea. That is a great idea. Okay, so let's quickly review those. Sarah bought a new dress for the party. She thinks it, the dress, looks stunning. And remember, we can test this by replacing it with dress. Sarah bought a new dress for the party. She thinks the dress looks stunning. That must be it. Have you read the book that I recommended? This is a relative pronoun use, right? That I recommended is the relative clause describing the book. Have you read the book? Which book? That I recommended. That adjective clause gives us information about the book. And then we have, there was a lot of noise outside. I wonder what it was. Right? I wonder what it was. You and your friend hear a noise, and one of you says, what was that? That whole experience. You're pointing to a specific sound or a whole idea or experience. Where am I? Emily found a stray cat in the park. She decided to adopt it, the cat. Tom bought a new bike. He's excited to ride it, the bike. So we are replacing a single noun. Can you remember of the name of that restaurant? So this is pronoun determiner. That restaurant we went to last night. When you came home last night, was it cold outside? So this is dummy subject, right? What was cold? Everything was cold. Generic. That doesn't describe something generic. It describes the opposite, something specific. Specific, generic. Generic means general, non-specific. Where are we? I went to the zoo yesterday. That was a lot of fun. The whole experience of going to the zoo yesterday. A specific experience or memory. That was a lot of fun. But you could also use a dummy subject. It was a lot of fun. My visit to the zoo. You could replace it with my visit. And finally, Sarah saying we should go camping next week. Emily likes the idea. She says that is a great idea. So, I think you all did pretty well on that. That quiz. That quiz, specific quiz. Okay. So good job. Thank you for participating in the quiz. Hopefully this is a little clearer now and that we can say with some confidence that we have solved tonight's mystery and that the I should change that graphic because I certainly didn't solve that mystery by myself. The Grammar Gumshoes solved that mystery together. You guys ask questions, give me further questions, give me feedback. So we solve these mysteries together. Guys, I just want to remind you quickly, before it's time to say goodbye, about next week. Very special guest appearing with me, Teacher Arnell from Arnell's Everyday English YouTube channel. Very popular YouTube channel, and she is one of my favorite YouTube educators. She's a fantastic teacher. Her videos are great, and I highly recommend you go to her YouTube channel and subscribe. I'm a big fan of her work, and I'm very excited to have her on the show next week for an interview and conversation. So we will have time. Her time with us will be limited, and then after she leaves the show, we'll have time to answer some questions, grammar questions. When she's on the show, she'll be happy to answer your questions. And remember, notice the different time, right? She's in the UK, so she's 9-10 hours different than I am. So this was the only chance we could coordinate our schedules. So please join us next Friday at 8 a.m. my time. This show is usually 5 p.m. my time. So is that 9 hours? Yeah, that's 9 hours. Is it? Yeah, 9 hours earlier on Friday. So Friday morning for me. If you're in South America, it'll be Friday morning. The rest of the world, sorry, I can't calculate where your time zone is right now, but please notice the difference just for that episode. It's not a permanent change, just next week's episode, okay? So I hope you'll join us. It's going to be a very interesting and fascinating discussion. Isabel, yes, I'm glad. Her videos are excellent. She's an excellent teacher. Her knowledge is fantastic. The way she communicates and instructs about grammar topics, really, there's none finer. So I recommend you watch her videos if you've never seen her videos. Go to her channel, Arnell's Everyday English, and check that out. I don't have the link with me here, but I will definitely post it. When you see the live stream link next week, all her contacts will be in the description. But the main thing is just come out and join us for the episode next week. All right, folks, Grammar Gumshoes, I think it's time to say goodnight. Friends in Brazil. Friends in Brazil. I hope you take care and stay safe. I know there's a lot of flooding, especially in the south of Brazil. Some of my students have been affected, so please be safe and take care. And hopefully your friends and family are not negatively affected by the flooding. Chinu is worried. What are you worried about? Nothing to worry about unless you're in Brazil in the south, which I don't think you are. Unless your country and your region has flooding. I hope not. But if that's the case, I'm sorry to hear that. All right, guys. Please, again, join me next week with Teacher Arnell at a different time, 8 a.m. Pacific, PDT. That's my time zone. You'll have to calculate. By the way, I think if you go to the live stream link, once I publish it, which I think it is already on YouTube, you click the link, you'll see your time zone. It automatically changes, converts. Stay healthy, stay cool. Teacher Paul. Somebody's crying. I don't know why. Otera Mili is crying. No need to cry. Jonas, thank you. Stay healthy, stay cool for everyone. Jonas, you're welcome. All right, guys, I'm going to say goodnight. Here we go. Okay, guys, I'll see you next week with Teacher Arnell from Arnell's Everyday English. Looking forward to that show. It's going to be fantastic. Haven't had a guest in a while, so that's exciting. Until then, please stay safe. If you're in a region where there's some trouble, weather, conflict, anything, please take care of your family and stay safe. Keep learning English. And as always, guys, no matter what's happening around you, no matter how frustrating your studying is, no matter how challenging it is to learn English, always keep a clear head. And how do you do that? One simple way: stay cool. Show. If you have an English grammar question, an English mystery, contact me on social media and send me a video of you asking the question. I'll investigate it on a future show. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button to get all the updates about videos and events. If you're feeling generous, you can also donate to the production costs of the show at Patreon or buy me a coffee. Finally, until the next time I see you on Hardboiled English Live, I want you to keep learning English. Stay healthy and stay cool.